you're replacing that subfloor, and then you're introducing a good flashing system so that any water that does get underneath the sides behind that door, it's hitting that flashing and it's going out of the house. Not in, not getting absorbed into your house. It's getting out of your house.
So true. I am very much struggling today. I feel like I'm really, really dehydrated. I think that might be what's going on.
Okay.
Anywho, how you doing, Todd? Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. I'm probably dehydrated too, but I usually am over the winter.
I think I just generally run at a dehydrated level. I think that's probably not healthy.
Probably not.
All right.
Probably not. But let's see if we can trudge through this anyway.
We get yeah, right. We'll get through this. We will. So anything new and exciting for you this week? What's going on?
No, not really. I got to kind of, we're at that like post-holiday, end of January, like people aren't quite thinking spring yet. So, but post-holidays, people just kind of hibernate a little bit. So kind of got a lot of that like hurry up and wait stuff, like there's a lot of estimates out there that are just kind of sitting out there, and a lot of people who claim they want to move forward, but they're just not sure when or what that looks like. And it's just like there's kind of that hibernation time of year where you just you're just not really sure what it's going to look like when the weather breaks here. Like, am I going to get all these projects and all of a sudden I'm too busy and you're trying to schedule those properly? Or do you get none of those and then you're still looking for projects? Like it's that kind of year. So that's kind of what I got going on over here. Nothing too exciting.
Okay.
How about you?
I had a pretty big presentation for construction contract this week. So that kind of took all of my effort, my brain power pretty much this week. And it's for a very, very detailed oriented client, and one that like it's taking 2 appointments to go through contract signing. Because we are going through every paragraph, every sentence. What does this mean? And it's a very big project. So we're going through every line item, which I don't have a problem with. I prefer those type of clients that actually are reading my contract. So that's nice and that's refreshing, because how many times do you go through at a contract signing and full well they're not reading it, they didn't read it,
Sure. Yeah. So that's nice. Gives them a chance to ask their questions and make sure you get all those details out on paper before you start, right? That's always the goal.
Exactly. That's what we're all about, is we will take the time up front and figure out all the details up front, because we don't want to get through, or we don't want to start the project and then have to figure out those details. So we're happy to do it. So it's just, it's a lot of effort. And so it's draining, but it's all good. So I think that might be why I'm a little drained this week.
Yeah.
I think the next one is on next week, Monday, which is in a few days. Once we get, I think that will be the final one. I think we'll actually get signed and moving forward from there.
Okay, nice.
So that's what's new over here.
Okay. Can I ask you, or do you know, like, what does people do for a living? Because I always feel when someone's that detail oriented, they're usually some sort of engineer, attorney, or accountant.
Interesting. Close. I don't know exactly the title for the wife, but she worked in contracts or some contract department, or the description was she works in contracts, which was like, okay, no wonder you're like going through every single little thing, right?
Sure.
On the contract. Right. Yeah. So I get it. And he works for, I think he works for Meta. And I don't know precisely what he does. I don't
Well,
I
you
don't
said if
think
she
he's a
was doing something
coder.
in contracts, that alone explains it.
Yeah, she's way more. She's the detail oriented one. Yeah, she's the one that's going through it all. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's very much like me. She's has to research all of her options and has to research everything before she feels comfortable with moving forward with whatever topic or whatever it is that we're stuck on. So I get it. You know, we're trudging through, and
you'll get along
it's
just
at their
fine.
time. I'm in no hurry. We're doing this right. So
Yeah.
however long right takes is how long it takes. And that's that. So yeah.
That's the right attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're totally on board with it too. And they understand their personality. So I'm cool with it because I'm exactly that way. I got to research to the nth degree before I can move forward. Almost like that analyzing paralysis through over analyzing things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And paralysis by analysis. Yep. For sure.
That's what I was looking for.
You said you clarified earlier you were struggling with your words today. It's all right.
I clarified that I am struggling today, so I might be even a little slower than I normally am.
You're tired. It happens. I get it.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
okay. Well, with that said,
let me know when you're done with that project in 7 years. Let me know how it turns out.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Very funny.
Thank you.
So, all right. What's our situation today, Todd?
I think we were talking about exterior windows and doors today. Windows, obviously.
Yeah. All right.
Almost always being exterior. Sometimes I suppose you can get an interior window, but
sure.
Just the exterior windows
of an interior door.
And again, this being part
all
of
right.
Kind of a 101 thought process, so a little bit of more of an intro, right? Like, so I guess we could talk about, practices as far as installation or types of windows and doors, as far as, different materials they're made of, and all that fun stuff. Sealants and insulations and all that kind of stuff that goes into your kind of basic install. In a 101. We don't want to get too far into, the actual composition of the window and glazings and heat gain coefficients and all that kind of stuff. Right. That may be
We're not scientists. Let's not get there yet. Yeah. Perfect. And this will be right into our 101 series. So we're right on there. Perfect. So window and door 101.
Yes.
All right. What do you got? Yeah. Where you want to start? Got any?
So I'll start with a couple things.
Okay.
I guess first and foremost, I don't do a whole bunch of windows and doors. Usually, and this may sound odd, but usually if someone called me to replace a window, I flat out am going to tell them I don't do window replacements. I'll do a window replacement when it's part of a larger project. So if we're doing a bigger remodel of that house or something else that's involves that, then certainly, sure, we'll replace a window. But just as a one-off on its own project, replacing a window, I won't do it. The doors, on the other hand, exterior doors, we're actually a certified installer for Therma-Tru. So I do a fair amount of Therma-Tru installations every year. And I know some people think that's really strange. I've had a couple of clients tell me, like, wait, so you'll replace my front door, but you won't replace the window right next to it. And say, yes, that's correct. I want nothing to do with your window. And it's just kind of happened that way. I think getting into windows for me was just a little too involved as far as like, well, we have this 1 second story window. So now you're getting multiple ladders and ladder jacks and scaffolding and tying and siding and all this kind of like, no, thank you. I just don't want to do it. If it's part of a bigger project, then certainly, yeah, you roll that in and it is what it is. So I guess for starters, I don't do a lot of windows. I do a good amount of front doors. Certainly replacing sliding doors and stuff is kind of be a little more along the lines of windows. If it's part of a larger project where we'll replace sliding doors and whatnot. But yeah, so I don't know where we want to start as far as,
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect. Your little disclaimer. You brought up a very good point. I want to throw my disclaimer in there too. I want to jump on this bandwagon.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I'm not going to go out there and replace the 14 windows on your home and call it good. We will replace windows. That's when it's part of a kitchen remodel and we're moving things around and we might lose a window, add a window, make a window bigger. We're there. We'll tackle that. If we're in the bathroom, master bathroom, same situation, but we're not just going to funnel a call that says, hey, can you come and just replace all of my windows on your house? Nope, that's a window company. We're not going to bring enough value. There's not enough trades. There's all you're looking for is a window contractor at that point. That's what they do. So call them. I'm not going to bring enough value to your project. We need to have multiple things happening. That's where that's why you want to call me. So yeah. With that said, we might not know all of the tricks in the trade of windows, but we've done quite a bit of them over the years. And I think we got the gist of it. Like you said, we also are a Therma-Tru certified installers and we're certified window installers through OSI as well. So, and we know best practices. So we follow those and so be it. And everybody has a different way of doing it. There's all kinds of different ways to install windows, and everyone thinks that their way is a little trick and is the best way. And as long as you're doing something for damming, I don't care what it is, you're good. And we can go over something. We can go over some of those. But yeah, so that's windows. That's our disclaimer. So let's get into it. I think we should start right off the bat. 101. How to measure the door or window more importantly. How do you, right? So you want to, first thing you got to do is order the new door or order the new window. Ordering the door is fairly easy, but ordering a window, every window there's just so everyone knows out there, there's not really standardized sized windows in the remodeling industry. We're working on old homes and all kinds of different shapes of homes. So we're literally measuring what we actually need. And that's the window we're going to get. There's not like a standard window that we're going to order that fits in. No one's out there building square windows everywhere. So let's start there. I'll start and then maybe you can tell me how you do it. I honestly, we get them signed up. So if they're signed up and we're all on board that we're actually going to do the project, I'll come out after signed contract and we'll pop off the casing on the windows and we'll find where the studs are and we'll measure stud to stud. So we'll get that rough opening. That's the best way, in my opinion, to do it because then you get framing to framing. Now we can go in tangent on multiple different directions here, but let's just stick with measuring. And that's how we do it. That's how we prefer to do it. If we're just trying to get estimates and we haven't got signed contract or anything, then we will not do that. And I'll take my best guess at where I think the framing is. And that's all we're going for there. So you get a really close estimate on the size of the window. But then once they sign up, there's going to be an additional appointment where I come out and I do a little bit more digging and we're actually going to pop that casing off. And, I might even need to scrape a little bit of drywall back so I can find those studs. Now, there's some tricks that you can measure from the outside depending on the window and how the window is built, the manufacturer of the window. You might be able to just go outside and measure framing, the end of the framing to the end of the framing on the window itself. And that might be good enough. And especially if your goal is to not mess with the siding, then you might want to go off of your siding rough opening and work off of that, dependent on how you're going to install the window, whether it's going to be a remodel insert window or if it's going to be a new construction. We don't do inserts or remodels. We won't install that way. So that's why I'm going back to framing on framing.
So when you for those who don't know, when you say inserts, what do you mean? What is an insert?
Yeah, so remodel window or an insert window, generally on an old window, you're going to take out the sash, which is the window part, like if it's a double hung window where they go up and down, right? That the part that goes up and down, that's called a sash. And on an old window, let's say like an old wood window, you're just going to pop those sashes out, and then you're left with the old wood frame, and then they're going to put a window inside of that old frame. So it's basically a window inside of a window. That's an insert. That's a remodel. It has no flanges on the outside to screw or nail to on the outside of the house. It's just literally going to get put inside that frame. You're going to screw through the window, the edge of the window, the side of the window, the jamb of the window. You're going to screw through that right into that old frame and call it a day. And then there's all kinds of flashing on the outside that can be done for that. A lot of caulking. There's a lot of caulking. It's not the preferred way and not the best way, in my opinion, to offer a good air seal window. You can buy the nicest, coolest, best window out there, the most expensive, and if you install it like a hillbilly, then it's no good. I rather you buy a crappy window and install it like the best way possible. That's going to perform better.
Yeah.
In my opinion. It always comes down to the install anyway. So that's how so that's an insert. And I've also
heard it referred to as pocket windows. I don't know if they use that there, but I've also heard them called pocket windows. But same thing that you're saying. It's just an intro. Same thing. Just an insert inside of that existing window jamb, and that's it.
Would you like to explain what
I've only seen them made in vinyl. They're usually vinyl. They're usually not the best quality window to begin with. Like you said, a couple of screws and then just seal the hell out of it and hope for the best.
Yeah. Would you like to describe what a new construction window is? Actually, hold one thought. I might have a picture of an insert window, and we can show exactly what we were just talking about.
Beautiful. Visual aids help.
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. So you see the white vinyl window here? So that's your insert, that's your pocket window, that's your new window, right? But then this piece of wood right here, that's your old frame. That's the frame of the old window. And then, of course, here is your 2x4s, right? Look how much of a window you're losing.
Sure. You're good.
So if you wanted nice big windows, because you chose remodel insert window installation, you just lost you just lost glass. Now is smaller, right?
You're a good inch each side. If you're talking a 3/4 inch jamb, typically, right, on an older window. So you're talking 1.5 inches and then a little bit of shim space and whatever. You're not going to have that pocket window made to that exact interior. You need a little bit of spacing to be able to shim it and square it up. So yeah, you're talking a good 1 3/4 inches, 2 inches of space that you're losing. And if you're losing that, like you said, in glass, if you're doing 6 windows in a room and you're losing all that surface area of glass, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So that's kind of what we mean by insert. What's a new construction window installation? What's the difference there, Todd?
You're ripping that jamb that you were just pointing out, that old frame, that whole thing's coming out. So you're taking that frame out, you're taking the casing off, depending what the exterior of the house is, right? So whether that's if it's siding or brick, depending what you're doing on the outside, but you're removing all that casing on the outside, you're removing that entire window. You're also checking the framing, because if it's old windows, older house, you could have some framing rot and some water damage in there that may need to get replaced, or at least you may want to replace that and properly flash all that in with a new window. Whereas an old pocket window, it's just, hey, it's buried in there. Who the hell cares, right? It is what it is. So then those things are kind of favorite, those pocket windows, and we'll stop harping on those in a second, but they're kind of favorites of flippers, right? Because you're going to go buy this cheap vinyl insert, pop it in, and then you're selling this house with, quote, new windows. but you lost that space. You don't know if there's any mold or rot or any issues behind there. You certainly didn't properly insulate around that pocket window because you don't even have any space to. So hopefully that old window is properly insulated, which guaranteed it's not because it's an old window. So
Right.
there's just a lot
Right.
of it shouldn't be able to you shouldn't be able to sell that as a new window. You know, if you're doing a brand new window, you're taking that entire frame out, you're checking the framing, you're making sure that if anything needs to be replaced, it's getting replaced, and then you're putting that entire new unit in, you're shimming that up, squaring that up however you need, and that gives you the ability to insulate around that entire brand new window. And you're putting, we're using spray foam all the time. You're flashing that in properly if need be, again, depending on the exterior, depending on how everything is built, but it gives you the opportunity to just do it right. It's a blank canvas. Take it out, start from scratch, do it right, and you can sleep at night,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So I got another picture of that flange. So here's the flange on the outside where it has these little holes.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to be what
nailing fin.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
A nail fin. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's important. Think about the ability of being able to overlap the framing and then be able to flash it and caulk it and air seal it, all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that nail fin helps with air sealing.
Yeah. So let's get into, we can get into flashing that in a minute. I want to go back to, is there any different way that you measure for windows?
Usually I agree. If I'm ordering the window, I'm taking the casing off. I want to know for sure, but I'm going the actual window itself. Like I want to know what that actual existing window size is. It is, you do want to keep in mind what that rough framing opening is. And then depending on what the exterior of your home is, if it's brick, especially, I want the masonry opening on the outside as well. I want to know what that MO is. So those are fixed points. I'm not chipping out brick to fit a window in there. You know what I mean? So you want to take all those into consideration, and then you want to know, okay, this is what I can fit in this masonry opening. This is how much room I have. This is how square or out of square this masonry opening is. And then the only other thing I will say for sure about that is the jam depth. You want to know the depth of your jam to get from your finish point on the outside to flush with drywall on your inside, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah, you want to be able to order those. And I put that on my checklist only because I've made that mistake before and then said, shit, now I get to go make extension jams for all these windows I just put in. And, then you're going back and asking the client and saying like, yeah, well, I got to add this and put extension jams on there. And you should have just ordered them the first time with, the proper depth so that flushes up to the face of your drywall and you're just putting your casing right over it. And it's nice and seamless. So it's an important measurement as well.
Good point. Very good point. Okay. So now that we measured the window, let's say we ordered it, it shows up. The very next thing, before you do anything, boys and girls, please go and double check the measurements of everything before you demo that, because it has happened where windows here, great, and it's all in bubble wrap or cardboard or however it shows up. It's sitting in the garage and you're like, great, all right, I show up, windows here, ready to go, knock out the old window and the new window doesn't fit. Yeah. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now you have to go get some plywood, and
that's a pickle.
Now the homeowner has to live with plywood on the side of their house, and not good.
No.
Not good.
So you want to check everything with that. Like you said, the number one, just the integrity of the window, right? Like no broken glass, obviously, no severe damage on it, anything like that. The sizes and dimensions of it, make sure everything shows up the way you ordered it, and then the colors and finish, right? You want to make sure that if it's something that's already pre-finished, you want to make sure that's the right color. I've had that happen before where I replaced a front door and I just thought, measurements are good, everything looks good, no damage on it. Put that in only for the client to come home at their lunch break and said, that's the wrong color. And I said, that's not funny. And they're like, not kidding. It's like, awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
So it's like,
fantastic.
yeah, and it wasn't my fault. Like it was from the manufacturer admitted it. They finished it the wrong color,
Yeah.
And I didn't even know. Like,
right.
and it wasn't even. I had them at my, the showroom that I used for that. So they ordered the color on their own. I didn't even think twice about what it was. But so anyway, I mean, it all gets rectified. They came out and site finished it and everything else, and it turned out great. But it's just something else to look for. You want to make sure that
all the finishes.
Yeah, everything's the way it's supposed to be. The handing, if it's a door, the handing. Is it a left hand? Is it a right hand? Is that opening the right way?
Which way is it going to swing?
Yeah. And if it's a window, is it the right style of window? Is it a double hung? Is it a single hung? Is it a casement? All those details. They matter.
Make sure it is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so install. There's a couple things that we want to touch base on installing, and some of this also pertains to doors as well, is the flashing part. And you brought up the spray foam, that you always use spray foam. So yeah, and so do I. I only use spray foam. You will be surprised how many people out there don't. At least I was surprised. So if you're going to use spray foam, use the blue can, not the orange, the yellow, the green, red.
Yeah.
Use the blue one.
Very
the blue
important.
one is made. Yeah, it's made for windows and doors on purpose, so it doesn't expand to the point of ruining the window or putting too much pressure on the window or the door, so it doesn't close or open correctly. And it stays somewhat squishy too, so there's a little flex into the window and door blue can stuff. So make sure you use that, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we use anyway. And that's going to go in between the framing and your jamb, right? So when you ordered the door or the window, there's usually some space in there on purpose. Now, for one, you can shim the window and the door to get it perfectly level. But then two is for this specific reason. There's space in there so you can properly insulate and air seal. And that's what that spray foam will do. It'll expand, and it is a little insulation and a little air sealing all in one. Perfect. Boom. Done.
Right.
Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, what's next? Like, you brought up the flashing. You want to talk a little bit about the flashing? And as you talk, I have two different examples of flashing. So as you go, I'll shoot them up.
Okay, you're probably better at talking about flashing than me, because I know you geek out on flashing.
Okay. I geek out about all kinds of little details, don't I?
So I will say just a quick preemptive, and then I'll let you go, because I think you're more technical on that than I am. But I will say, just in taking out old doors, right, or old windows, you see that, especially in remodeling, you see where that leakage is. You see where you get water infiltration. You see where those points are where you're most likely to get that, right? So windows, a lot of times you'll take those out and you'll just see in the corners, you'll see that there was some water damage at some point.
Always in the corners, isn't it?
Right. It's always in the corners with the windows.
Mm-hmm.
Doors, front doors, depending on, if you don't have an overhang on the front of your house and that's really getting hit with some sideways, some driving rain and snow sitting on there and everything else, you'll see a lot of these homes that were built even up until, mid 90s, that they didn't do any sort of flashing underneath those doors. I mean, nothing. Right. It was just, you built that house and you just plopped that door right in on the subfloor, and that was it. So
right.
Like I said, we do a fair amount of front doors, and there's quite a few times I will take that existing front door out and that subfloor is shot underneath there, So now you're going in, you're cutting back that subfloor a little bit because you want to get all that rot out of there. You're replacing that subfloor, and then you're introducing a good flashing system so that any water that does get underneath the sides behind that door, it's hitting that flashing and it's going out of the house, not getting absorbed into your house. It's getting out of your house. That makes sense?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And since we're talking about sills a little bit, and at the bottom of the sill, and this is window and door. At the end, what we're going to do is we're going to caulk windows and doors and all the sidings and all that. But what's really important, I think, you don't want especially windows, has weep holes. So you don't want to cover the weep holes. You want to make sure that when you're caulking at the end of the project, you're not covering up these little tiny weep holes for any reason with caulk. So just pay attention, especially on windows. Some door sills have them too, so you have to pay attention on the door. If you're going to caulk the bottom of the sill on the door, if you choose to do that, which that's an argument I will have, but it's dependent on every situation, so we'll let that go. Just don't cover up whatever weep holes that are there.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are there. Those holes are there for a reason. It is not an accident.
Get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, not an accident.
While we're talking about the outside of the window / door, let's talk a little bit about at the top of a window or a door. There's that drip edge flashing, like it's an actual metal piece that doesn't come with the window or the door. You have to buy this. You have to install this above the window and the door. And it's just here. I got a picture of it.
Just thin gauge aluminum.
It's a thin gauge and it's got like a Z shape to it. Right. And we're talking about this guy right here, this drip leg in this particular picture. That's what it's called. But some form of this is what you want to do. That way, when the water comes down from behind the siding, because inevitably you're going to get some moisture somewhere, somehow behind the siding, it's going to run down the WRB that you have on your house, and it's going to come and hit that drip edge and then go out and not go down behind the door or window and then into your house. So that's what we want to make sure that we're doing there.
And very important, as your diagram shows, is to have that drip edge tucked behind your WRB. Don't just put it up to it and leave it. You want it behind there.
Yeah. So that's something that I learned. I wasn't doing in the beginning. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, and I didn't know.
Guys that still don't.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. So remember that it's like you could literally just go to Home Depot and pick one up. They have them right off the shelf. No reason you can't. All right. The outside, we're still on flashing. So on the outside of the window, let's talk about flashing. Now, there's 2 different places that you're going to put 2 different types of flashing. You're going to put flashing on, remember we were talking about those windows, the new construction windows that have the nail fin. Okay. You're going to put flashing over that nail fin after you're done nailing it. Right? It's going to overlap the nail fin and it's going to overlap your WRB. Right? It's going to make this nice seal. Okay. And then, so that's on the outside. And you do it like you would think about doing it as if you were doing it like shingles, like roofing, right? You're going to do the bottom and then the sides go over the top of the bottom and then the top goes over the top of those, right? Okay. So that's the outside flashing. But now let's talk about what's more important or most important is the sill flashing, and that's flashing that's going to go on before the window and the door, right? That's the bottom part. What we do is we go on the bottom and then we come up at least 6 inches off this on each side, at least. I've noticed out here a lot of guys, it seems to be normal practice that everyone's using the flashing all the way around, window and door. I think that's a little excessive and I don't understand why. But that's what I see them doing out here.
Yeah.
But whatever. Are you doing that?
I flash all the way around windows.
You do?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't.
I flash
I
all the
only
way around.
flash. Yeah, I only flash up 6 inches.
Okay. I mean, not on the frame itself. I do
No,
just.
I'm talking about the frame inside before the window goes in. I'm talking about on the 2x4s.
No, I don't do that. No.
Okay.
I do the same thing. I still wrapped up 6 inches each side, and that's it.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're flashing all the way around.
Yeah.
I think that's just a waste.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe belt and suspenders situation going on there. I don't know. All right, so let's talk about this flashing for the sill because this is where it's really most important, I think. And there's a couple different types. Let's take a look at Dupont's FlexWrap. This is where you do not want to use the flex tape that you're not flex tape, the flashing that you're using on the outside of the window. What we just got done describing, that's going to go over the nailing fin on the outside of the window. This is not the same flashing. That's like a Velcor type of flashing. What we're talking about here is you want something that's flexible so you can bend around into the corners. I know some guys have used FlexCore and that type of rigid flashing, so you do some kind of overlapping, but I'm telling you, there will always be some kind of pinpoint risk of having some pinhole somewhere in that corner. Why? This type of flashing is a little bit more expensive, so I'm sure that's why. But FlexWrap has this ability where you can stretch it. It stretches this way, but does not stretch that way.
Yeah.
So it comes in like a 6-inch width and a 9-inch width.
I'll also say too that there's and maybe it's different out by you, but that's not like a readily available product. You know, you're not going to find that sitting on the shelf at Home Depot.
No, I don't believe you will. I usually have always bought it from a building supply house.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, another reason some guys aren't going to use that because they're just, well, I was at Home Depot. This is what they have for flashing.
So you're saying you think they just can't find it?
Yeah, or don't even know.
Interesting.
They may not. They may not know any better off the bat, or if they just, or they're not willing to. Right? Just like, oh, I got to do a window install today. This is what they have off the shelf. This is what we're using. You know.
So take a look at this other one. Is from the Zip system. This stuff is amazing, you guys. Again, probably the most expensive option, but this stuff has the ability to, if you make a mistake, you can you can pull it up and then re-stretch it and it'll stick back down a few times.
Nice.
I've used this stuff. It's flipping amazing stuff. It sticks to almost everything. It's really good. And like I said, if you make a mistake, you can pull it back up and reset it. I think it's awesome. It's really great. So those are the two that I readily use for the sill, which you can see is right here. And you saw on the last one on the Flex Wrap from Dupont, they went up 6 inches off to the sides. So you saw how that works, right? Okay, now I want to take this to the next level though. So this is great, fine. This is wonderful. But what you want to do is create a dam in the back of that window. So in the back here on the interior, you want to create a dam also on the door sill. And there's many different ways to do this. Some guys will actually put a piece of siding that is beveled. We create a dam. And I know I have a picture of it. Hey, look at those two handsome fellas.
Look at that.
Who is that?
Holy cow. Holy cow.
That brings us back.
Installing a giant sliding door in the dead of winter, huh?
Yeah, yep. So
Genius.
that's me and Todd out there on the back of a deck in the snow, putting in a 8-foot sliding glass patio. So what I wanted to show here is what we did with the flashing for the sill is we created on the backside, we did a dam. And so if you got the 9-inch width, what I usually do with the 9-inch is I'll roll a little bit of the actual flashing onto itself that actually creates a dam. And then I also put a bead of caulk in front of that. Just again, little extra insurance there and create a little bit of a dam. So that's what I'm doing. That's generally what I do for damming. That's my suggestion. I know guys have many different ways of doing this. And also there's plastic flashing that you can actually buy, and they are like accordion, so they kind of can be flexible a little bit depending on your measurements. And so I know a lot of guys require that to be used and installed. Many different ways of doing this, but do something. That's what should be happening. Don't just throw the window and door on a level playing field. Not cool.
Right.
You want to make sure that water's going to wick out, because water inevitably will probably get onto that sill at some point, somehow, some way. And you want it to be able to find its way out and not on the inside. You want it to go on the outside. Yes? Cool. Cool. So that's all I kind of wanted to talk about there. I hope I didn't bore the hell out of everybody, but I think it's really important to make sure that damming is done. Anything else you got? I think that's pretty good for 101 there. We got in the weeds on a little technical stuff at the flashing, but
I mean, there's a lot to get into as far as just manufacturers, different compositions of the windows themselves, vinyl versus fiberglass versus, wood interior and clad exterior. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. And that's why I like anything. There's guys that are specialized in all these things. But that's why we're kind of doing a 101. And sometimes these are hard to know where to start and where to stop,
Yeah.
So same with even the sealants. We can talk about OSI, pure silicone versus siliconized acrylic caulk versus, elastomeric caulk, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of different products out there. There's a lot of information out there, and it's, like anything, it's just do your research, do your due diligence, and look at your manufacturer specifications and requirements and what does what,
Yep. Yeah, I think you really want to make sure that you're using OSI caulk on the exterior of your house. I mean, it just
OSI is going to give you the greatest seal for sure. The only drawback that I know to that is just it's not, well, two, I guess. One is it's just not, it's not a toolable product, right? Like you can get that siliconized caulk that you get, which they say, year exterior, well, 40-year exterior, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you live or what your weather is like that you're getting 40 years out of that tube of caulk. But you can tool that with your finger and make it look beautiful and then paint it in 2 hours and you're done, right? The OSI, you're not going to get that. You can't tool it.
No.
And if you're going to
Here's a little trick with tooling it though. So it comes in a crap load of colors. By the way, if you're running down Home Depot and you see brown, white, and black, just so you know, it comes in 100 different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And it all is made to match Owens Corning siding, vinyl siding colors, I believe. So there's a crap load of colors out there. I used to work at a building supply house, and I used to have to stock all those colors. And there's dozens and dozens of colors of OSI caulk. So if they're out there, if you're looking for color now, but it's also paintable too. So who cares, right? If you're going to get the house painted and stuff.
It just has a long
But if you're
period of time
trying to
before you can
match,
paint.
yeah, but if you're trying to match vinyl siding, which we don't have any vinyl siding here in the Pacific Northwest, but I know you have a bunch in the Midwest. So if you're
Oh, yeah.
doing vinyl siding, you don't necessarily have the ability to paint over it very easily. So that's why you're trying to match the color of the siding. Anywho, you can't just lick your thumb and run down and hope for the best. You got to be really good at caulking a straight line, which I am not. But here's a trick: some window cleaner. That's it. Windex used to sit in my truck all the time.
Yeah.
You just and then run your finger down. You'll have some tooling time with that.
Okay. I was not
It
aware.
won't stick. It won't stick to your finger. Now, pro tip: don't spray the Windex where the caulk isn't, but soon will be, because it won't stick very well. So you'll want it to get all the caulk on where
Okay.
you're going to put it. And then it doesn't, very little, guys, very like, sometimes I'll even just spray my thumb in that and call it good. And then I'll go until I can start to feel a little sticky, and then I'll spray my thumb again and keep going. Or if I'm in a rush, or if I'm confident, I'll spray the whole thing and go. And you can actually start molding and being Picasso with the stuff. It's really cool. So give it a go.
Good to know. Yeah.
Little trick of the trade there. It works wonders. It's really cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So, because I'm not good at that stuff, I end up making a mess. It ends up looking really, really bad. So, all right. Well, I think that's a good spot to end. Hope
for a 101, I think so.
Windows 101. Windows door installation 101. Till next time. Cheers.
Cheers.